Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Valerie Mills. Thanks for logging on to My Fox Hurricane. We have an area of interest out in the Atlantic Basin. We're watching something at the end of this week. It only has a 20% chance to develop, but this yellow area here, this is the area that we're watching closely. Notice all the thunderstorm activity kind of embedded right kind of on the south side of that area. That's where we're watching for the potential for something to spin up as it approaches the Caribbean. Again, that would likely not be until this weekend, early next week. And this is actually developing a little bit further south than our typical waves at this point in the season that would be kicking off the coast of Africa. As we kind of zoom in here, take a closer look at what's happening. We have two large wind patterns at play here, the easterly trade winds that are coming off of the coast of Africa, and then the summer monsoon winds that are kind of traveling in a different direction. And right around this thunderstorm activity that we see, this is where we have an area of some enhanced spin around those larger wind patterns, and that's where we watch the potential for something to get going here in the next week or so. So as we take a look at our exclusive Fox model here, notice all of that thunderstorm activity just to the south of where all of that Saharan air is, and that's why we're talking about a better potential for this, as it kind of is in this pocket of more favorable air just on the south side of all of that drier air. So over the next couple of days, not too much happening here, but we focus in on Friday morning and especially into the weekend, where this little area here, we start to see a couple of pockets that are trying to get their act together. Specifically, notice this little spin up here happening as we look ahead from Saturday into Sunday. So these are kind of what we're going to be watching here over the next week or so for some additional tropical development, because a couple of things working in favor. I mean, water temperature is very warm. Not too much wind shear in the areas that this storm is going to be moving. And we've got water temperatures well into the mid 80s, even some upper 80s here across parts of the Atlantic Basin. So we're talking about water temperatures right in the zone where that storm would potentially moving over. 2 to 4 degrees above normal in some spots, about 5 degrees warmer than normal. Otherwise, nothing else to talk about here in the Atlantic Basin, but still tracking a couple of storms out in the central and the eastern Pacific. Now, Hone moving away from Hawaii, so they'll get a little bit of a break before Gilma right on the heels of that. And a lot of people have been asking, why do we have two H storms right now in the Pacific? Well, it's all about where those storms actually develop. So Hone developed on the border where we kind of transition into the central Pacific. Still, all of these are within the zones where they're still named hurricanes, but Hone formed on the border of the central Pacific versus Gilma and Hector. Hector is our H name for the eastern Pacific. So that's why we have both of those happening at once. We flip things over to the far northwestern Pacific off the coast of Asia, Japan. That's where hurricanes switch over their naming. They're called typhoons out in the northwestern Pacific, but still called hurricanes up until this point. This is kind of the transition from the central Pacific to the northwest. So that's a little bit of a background there about why we have double H names happening right now out in the Pacific. Zooming in now on Hurricane Gilma, that's next in line to bring some impacts to the Hawaiian Islands. Still has sustained winds about 75 miles per hour, and it is expected to rapidly weaken as it approaches the Hawaiian Islands. Cool water temperatures there are really going to kind of slow the development of this system. So still by Friday into Saturday, expecting some tropical rains for the Hawaiian Islands, but at this point we're only looking at rain accumulations in that 2 to 4 inch range. We'll continue to watch everything. Bring you updates here on My Fox Hurricane.